Hello. Right. Any of you who follow my Instagram account know I am slightly obsessed with the Australian vertical industry because just the content they produce is insane and so good. So I'm very, very excited to get to talk to an Australian vertical director who's actually directed some of my favourite verticals, and that is Maria Della Ossa. So I'm going to let her give a little brief introduction to herself before I ask her many, many questions.
Hello there, vertical world population. My name's Maria Delosa, vertical director for about a year. Come from long form landscape world is on the science of directing features and shorts and documentaries, both as a director and as a DOP, camera person. Fell into verticals just via stroke of luck. Pretty much answered an ad on Facebook, thinking that it was a bit of a joke, but here I am, and I'm completely hooked on them. So I just want to continue this journey to see where it takes me. So yeah, it's me in a nutshell.
That's amazing. So can I get a little bit of background about you? You know, was storytelling always in your blood? Sort of, was it something you were doing as a child? And how did you end up doing it as the job?
How I fell into storytelling. Look, I'll tell you that the very condensed version. I was 7 years old, and my grandma, who was in even though she's passed on, but still to this day is a strong feature, very, very strong with me, inspirational and motivational wise, creatively. Took me to go and see Jaws. Now I was 7 years old, and you would have thought, I would have been mortified, but it was just, the smell of the popcorn, the unison gasp of the audience when they saw the fin coming, John Williams' score, and from there on, I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. I was very lucky that my grandmother was she was an actress in Panama, where I'm from originally. She was very heavily involved in the arts. So art was in my blood pretty much. Teenagers, teenage, I sort of deviated a bit because, all teenagers do that. But it was not until I graduated high school, and a long, long, long time ago, that all of a sudden I was an extra, believe it or not, in Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear movie, and I was one of the actors right behind Robert De Niro in the parade scene, and that sparked it again. And it was and from there on, though, I realized that I didn't want to be in front of the camera. I wanted to be behind the camera. And it's just been, whirlwind, again, life happens. Moved to New York, worked in TV, doing research, NYU short films, worked in Sesame Street, Disney, got married, had a child. So obviously I had to step back for a while. Now my kid's in his 20s, and I'm back with a vengeance. So yeah, I couldn't see myself doing anything else, really, to be quite honest.
So that's amazing. You've obviously got this fantastic pedigree. So I'm going to do the slightly antagonistic question of are you too good for verticals? Because no. I know there's a little bit of snobbery about the space.
Look, I'll tell you a really funny story. And that humbled me, because I can understand the mentality towards verticals, which is fair enough. But I was in Melbourne about 12 years ago, and it was a Robert McKee script writing masterclass. And I'm like, I'll go, even though I'm not a script writer, but it's always, I've always liked to get my fingers in all the pies when it comes creatively. Lo and behold, no word of a lie, Jeffrey Rush sits next to me. Now, this guy's a Tony Award winner, Oscar Award winner, Emmy nominated, all kinds of award winner. And he gave me the most simplest of answers, because, my jaw had dropped. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I'm sorry to curse, but it was one of those moments that needed a curse word. And he was like, you never stop learning. It doesn't matter. You can win hundreds of awards, and the moment that you think that you know it all is when you no longer have the passion or curiosity to continue. And it struck true, because it's not only about passion, but it's the constant curiosity. to continue your creative journey. And as much as I like, I'm a very visual person, and I love, the visual side of it. Like Horizontal, obviously, it's beautiful. Terrence Malick, and it's one of my favorite directors and whatnot. But something about Verticals that has taught me it's that you need to speak to actors differently, in the sense where in Verticals everything is here, so you have to convey the emotional journey of the character, and you have to time it. It's so compact, and it's not like you can be watching a movie where you go like, oh, that's good acting, but did you see that frame? Did you see that lighting? That doesn't happen in Verticals. It happens all, the actors carry it, and it's not the picture, it's more the actors, and it's taught me a lot. And like, yeah, I mean, I can understand. It's like the Spanish telenovela, like, ay, Dios mío, I get it. And the formula is the same and whatnot. But what keeps it interesting for me is the constant, the constant learning of how to create the emotion differently for actors, how to take them to a journey differently than it would be directing them if you were directing in a feature in that different frame format. And you tweak it. It's a lot of little tweaks that that you start learning, and the more that you work with certain actors, obviously, and that goes with regular format movies, you start learning their tweaks and stuff. But I for one don't see it as the ugly stepsister. I see it as just an opportunity to a different venture, which eventually, from my understanding, it's about to take off where Quibi left off. And I think and look, I was one of those people about 4 or 5 years ago who was a huge fan of Quibi. I loved Quibi. I was devastated when Quibi went bankrupt. I think he was way ahead of the curve when Katzenberg brought that. But I think that they've taken a page, and I think because of how the industry is at the moment, that they need to grab onto something. And I think Verticals, although I think it's a great way for creators and actors and everyone involved to get their hands in, and to just tweak things in a different way, and it keeps you curious, which that's.
So obviously, that was my devil's advocate question, but
Yeah.
I 100% think verticals are probably one of the most exciting space in media. I think the fact that you have these constraints makes you more creative. The time constraints, budget constraints, as you said, the camera constraints.
For sure.
And I think that actually brings out better stuff. So it was really interesting you were saying that you felt it was more about the actors, because I want to talk about one of your well-known verticals. Daddy's Best Friend Made Me His Billionaire Wife. This vertical is phenomenal, because you look at the title and you're like, right, okay, it's going to be a bit of a icky, right?
Yeah.
Well, it is not icky at all. It is one of the sweetest, most heartwarming, beautiful romances you can watch.
Yeah.
I'll come on to the performances because they're phenomenal. But I also think it looks insane. Like, it looks so good. So it starts with, there's kind of like a party at a nightclub, and then there's this amazing corridor with these lights in that you shoot. I mean, I can still see that in my head. So you do make it look amazing.
That's amazing. Thank you. Look, like I said, I'm a very visual. I think that there's two. I think that in the world of story creation, there's two types of people: those who like creating as far as script writing goes, which unfortunately I go off with the fairies. I don't possess that discipline, and I tap my head every day to writers who can sit in the computer and not get distracted. And unfortunately, that's not me. Or the visual type, which I fall into that category immensely, and which no one in my family nor my friends like watching films with me, because I will constantly, for example, I completely digress as I'm doing, for example, adolescence, how it's all been done in one shot. And it's just those things. I'm a very visual. I love creating new visuals, because at the end of the day, for verticals, that's what's going to stick with people more than the dialogue or the story, because the story at the moment is so formulated and so formatted that we all know what's going to happen. So I think that in verticals, what then it's going to grasp you is both the acting, the very strong acting, and the visuals around you. Because, like I said, since it's so compact, you can make it even, you can create even a bit more oomph towards them. And that was actually my first vertical that I directed. For the vertical world. And I have to say that I have been extremely lucky to have in the 3 verticals that I've done, to have had really strong production designers who understand the world. And I think that is extremely important to have. The production designer is a person that it's needed in verticals, because if you just filming it in a white wall or something, with a staircase, but it has nothing, it loses its value, I think. But production design, it's look, I even remember that scene, and I remember having that conversation with the production designer and the producer, and I was giving them a bit of a diagram, because I want to do a bit of full focus, from the birthday cake when she blows the candles onto her face. And then the next thing, she brings me all these wonderful balloons and the lighting and everything. And I was just like, holy shit. That was incredible. So yeah, production design for me, it's one of the key elements for verticals, I think. Yeah.
I think all of that, the whole series looks great. I mean, I'm probably showing my age, but I do get a bit distracted by interiors, and the house is very nice as well. You're like, never mind the men taking their shirts off, I want that kitchen.
Oh dear. Oh, that's one of the perks, I guess, but
But I just want to talk about, obviously, I think another thing that the Australian vertical scene has got is you have this phenomenal amount of talent there, just with the acting. So
yeah.
I mean, CJ Walker, I think, was that her first vertical?
See, no, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was her third. She had, if I'm not mistaken, she had just come back actually with Alex, and this was their second one together. I think it was her third or fourth one. But she had finished one with Alex, the actor, and then they came into this one. So I think, she was quite a newbie, just like me in the scheme of things. Yeah,
because she's got this phenomenal range. So the other one they might have done was the heiress blacklists her husband, and she's like the psycho, and goes to proper levels, screeching and screaming. And then in this one, I always think that vertical lead actresses, sometimes it's a slightly harder role, because you've got to instantly be likable. You kind of suffer, but you don't want to be too much of a victim. It's less showy, isn't it? All the side roles, you get to do more. And I think she's just brilliant, the way she keeps you on side.
Yeah, I think, though, I mean, I like to treat it as the female main actresses are basically, they're channeling the demographic of women. So it's actually us, so they are the embodiment of those who are going to watch. She carries they're the ones that carry the torch. The audience becomes who the main actress is. I've always thought that, because I mean the demographic, it's heavily women, and I think that that the good thing is that the actresses know this. And they like to embody it in such a way that they're not making justification just to the 18 to 24. I mean, you can watch a movie, you can watch the verticals, even though that a lot of, it's true in my age as well. But I might be watching a vertical with an actress that might be 25, but the subject matter or the way that they carry themselves, something's like, oh, I can identify with that. You know what I mean? So it's a very broad, and it's wonderful how they do it. A lot of them are wise beyond their years as far as carrying that range. So it's sort of like you've lived a full life for your age. I mean,
I love that. Yeah, they're kind of the cipher for the audience, aren't they? And then I mean, we have to talk about Alex pitched in.
Let's talk about that.
Because,
Let's
um,
inflate his ego a bit
well,
first.
he knows this because
Yeah.
he's made me cry multiple times. There's not many
Oh,
actors that have
he's
made me
made me
cry more
cry.
than
Yeah.
Phil.
Mm.
And I don't know. I mean, I think it must be you. I don't know how it happens, but
Look,
the, the truth and the emotion that he finds in characters, and I
I
think it probably is suited to that close up, is just
yeah,
insane good.
I how do I start with Alex? All right, so like I said, I met Alex in Melbourne, and I think, and this goes even comparing actors that I worked with in regular features and stuff. There's just something about Alex, and with me, I don't know what it is, but it was like that constant. It was just like a quick connection we had, and the bouncing off of each other that I would go to him and it would be just with emotion. Alex, can you just slow down your hand a bit more? And he completely understood what I meant by that. And then he would come to me and stuff. This last one that I worked with also had Alex in it, and he's the one that goes, "Hey, what are you doing in March? Want to come and direct this?" I'm like, "Fuck, if it has you, of course." Our relationship between actor and director has grown in such a way that it's almost like telepathically. And he's one of those actors, though, in all truthfulness, that I don't think that I think he would be like the second person that I just have that like, it's almost like telepathically, and it doesn't, and we don't have to, because in verticals you don't have time to really block. You got like 3 minutes, we got to shoot, you know what I mean? And like I said, with Alex, it's more like, Alex, I want you to just look down and look up for me for a second. And it's just, he knows exactly what I'm telling him, like, and the man is fabulous. I mean, and I know, and I don't want to inflate it because he makes me smile, he makes me laugh and everything, but he is an absolute legend, not only as a vertical actor, but I do hope that he does eventually cross over to do broader, not bigger and better things, because like I said, verticals are great, but a broader, broader ways, because his way of even becoming the character is just, it's just a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, he's humble. He's a wonderful overall type of person to work with. And he's open. He's like an open book. He's never been, like, especially for an actor of his caliber and his notoriety in verticals, that when I first met him, I thought, oh, it's going to be a pretty boy, and we know how we deal with him and stuff. But I was completely wrong. Look, if anyone has a chance to work with him as a director or as an actor, I would strongly, strongly suggest to do so, because you will be leaving with so much knowledge as to how to really, what a real good relationship of an actor director is. And I have been lucky to have found that with Alex in the two projects that we've worked in. Yeah.
And that just sounds like a dream, as you said, with the
Yeah.
speed that you're working at. That if you
Mm.
just get someone and you're both like, right, we're on the same wavelength, we
Yeah.
both get
Yeah.
vision and what
Yeah.
we're doing. I can see that both of you are like, oh, this is fantastic, because it makes it
Yeah.
easy for both of you, doesn't it? If
Mm.
he also gets to know what you're looking for, what your
No,
vision is.
absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, the other actor that look, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I hate to like pinpoint actors, because like I haven't had a bad experience, but the other actor was from the vertical, like Harrison King, who played this wonderful villain, and it was just, I don't, because, again, in features, when you have time to block and you have time to rehearse, you can go through the whole emotional journey with the actors and all do all the exercises and stuff. But when you have the things like, Harrison, just do this little thing for me, and they take it running, and they know what I mean, because when you see it on camera, it's a complete change. And they know that what I'm asking them is because it might look different on camera and stuff. And it's the little tweaks. And like I said, his range, Harrison's range, I got to mention him too, is just marvelous because he played this nice guy and then slowly but surely became this like Jack Nicholson of The Shining, and then came back, and it's the same thing. I mean, like, yeah, and he was another one. I mean, there's so many actors, but in my top three overall of my 30 years of being in this industry, Alex is probably one of my top three favorite actors that I work with. Just an overall humble, beautiful human being inside out. Yeah, for sure.
So we've all got to see the vertical that's out, and
Yeah.
if you follow your Instagram, we know that you've made another project together. So can you tell us a bit about that? How it happened?
So,
When it's coming?
So it's called it's obviously now going into the werewolf spectrum, which the Alpha King and the Luna and the and the Omegas and all that stuff. And let's just put it that obviously Alex plays the Alpha King, and there is a lot. And in this one, and that's what I'm telling you, his range, his acting range, because with the previous one it was great, but it maintained his range was great, but with this one you'll see, man, it's gonna blow. I personally think it's one of the best werewolf, and not because I directed it or I was invited to direct it, but overall the production design and the value and everything that the producers went to acquire to make it look like it's going to look is phenomenal. It's gonna be fabulous. As a matter of fact, after I get off the phone with you, I have to look at the rough edit and take notes and all that. But yeah, it was great. And this is the type of vertical that it also, the producers were so kind to me in the sense of giving me a bit of free range in the sense of the visuals, how I wanted certain shots, and using smoke machines or going into the ocean and not forget VFX. And I've always been brought up with, you don't say fix it in post, you do it. If you can't do it, then don't worry about it. It's given me that type of freedom and the and a bit more being able to work with Alex and Reese Sherlock as well with it, and the range is, I mean, you'll see it. Alex, again, I don't want to inflate the guy's ego any further, but yeah, yeah, dude. If there was an Oscar category for verticals, I guarantee you that he would definitely be nominated. Yeah, that's the best way I can say. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason he got nominated he's nominated on the
Yes.
shortlist for Rising Star. There's a reason that man is there. um, so with this one, Werewolf World is obviously quite unique. Are you aware of like the werewolf kind of thing? I feel like, is there a primer that you're given of like, right, so this is how werewolf stories work, and then
I mean,
mate and bond and
yeah, no, it's like I said, it's almost like the formula, because it's been werewolves at the moment, and now I know that it's going more into the 50 Shades of Grey category. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of verticals with that kind of theme. I breaking into my CEO's playroom or something like that, and the other one at the moment is it's between now. So it was werewolves, which is still strong, and then now it's the 50 Shades of Grey motif, and the sportsman kind of, the Formula One or the boxer or stuff. So I think, which, look, to be quite honest, it keeps it fresh. It's no longer about the billionaire daddy, left me, pregnant or whatever. It's evolving. And I think that it needs to evolve, because although as women, we love seeing gorgeous men and women. I mean, let's be honest. But eventually we want to have some sort of storytelling attached to it as well. And I think that the vertical companies, especially in Asia, are starting to take that into consideration when it comes to that. I mean, I've seen, like, I saw one, I cannot remember the actor's last name. His name is Ryan, and he was breaking into the CEO's playroom or something like that a friend of mine sent to me. And I was like, that wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was very, I love 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, it's great smart, and I love it. And what's there not to love? But some of the verticals are becoming much more creative. The storytelling is getting way more stronger, and the production value is skyrocketing, which is, I think that, and it's good for women. It's good for the demographic that they want to keep a hold on, other than just giving us a whole bunch of pretty boys with their T-shirts off, which, hey, that's fine, but I'm going to get bored of it. There's so many times you can see Chris Hemsworth. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say no to Chris Hemsworth, but I would want at least to Chris Hemsworth do something else and paint a wall eventually. You know what I mean?
So are you seeing, because I think more and more people, verticals are seen as more acceptable now, more and more people from other areas of the industry coming into working in verticals?
Look, from my experience, here in Australia, with a lot of my friends who usually go into long formats or TV series, especially gaffers and grips in particular, have been doing a lot of verticals. But again, that's what's sustaining the industry at the moment. And it's almost like you can't be hypocritical either. If you really don't like it, don't do it. But then don't complain, oh, it's just bubblegum, or, oh, God, I'm not even going to put that. The amount of times that I've heard people, I'm not even going to put that in my IMDb. It sort of irks me, because it's still a creative. It's still art. I mean, you're not, yes, of course, you're not doing The English Patient. You're not doing a Martin Scorsese film. However, it still fills your soul and your pockets, so it's almost like, but yeah, I have found that look, the majority of the people that are doing it at the moment is because verticals, thank God, are keeping the industry afloat. And it's the same thing in the States. I have so many of my friends in the States, especially camera people, camera operators, they're doing verticals just because that's the only thing at the moment. And thank God for verticals. That's what I say. Like, if not, we would be up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
And it just, and like I said, there's that way of seeing it, and the other way of seeing it is it keeps it afresh. It makes you you tend to see it differently. Even now, when I see a Netflix series or something, I'm starting to see it vertically, or like how it would look vertically, which I love that stuff, and that's what I'm saying. There's always going to be the people that just do it because they need the cash, and there's other people that first do it because of the cash, but they go like, you know what, that's actually quite cool, and that's how, sadly, that's how it goes in the world. But but I'm one of those that I'm actually quite glad that I mistakenly stepped into it, and I've quite liked it.
Because I think it's slightly a response to the times that we're in. Life's pretty bleak. I talked to a lot of fans around the world. Day-to-day life's pretty tough, If you make the mistake of looking at the news, that's your day over because you've depressed yourself. And I think there's kind of people do want escapism. So I think there's, the best verticals, it's like, that's 90 minutes, which just takes you out of your life, gives you that. And then, I think obviously there's a wide range of quality and content. But the best one, you've got phenomenal performances, creativity, clever storylines, some of the best comedy you'll see, particularly as a woman looking for romance. I mean, if you go to cinemas, you're lucky if you get one good rom-com a year.
But that's right. And that's what I'm saying. I think the verticals, that's why verticals are winning the female, audience at the moment. What was the last rom-com, I mean, for me, it will be Pedro Pascal or something, and stuff. And I'm thinking, there's nothing. There's absolutely, if you go to the movie, especially now the Easter break, it's all kid stuff. But even so, you look back, and what would have been the last sort of rom-com? It would have been the Renee Zellweger one.
Oh,
But
yes,
even
Bridget
so,
Jones. That
yeah,
was
you know
good.
what I mean.
But
But
obviously,
but
that's
other
the
than
famous
that,
story.
you,
Yeah.
you know, but other than that, there's nothing. There's a lot of horror. There's a lot of action. But of course, I mean, and not that we don't like action, but I want to say, like, I want to be transported to where a billionaire likes this girl, and eventually they, like, and like I said, it's a great source of escapism, which the verticals are providing. And that's what I'm saying. And what I like at the moment is that they're starting to take notice that they need to have the same formula, but different storytelling aspects of it, which now that's what the werewolf side of things have come. And then, the 50 Shades of Grey, more risque kind of thing has come, which I personally think that's one of my favorites. And then I saw another one. Cannot remember the name of the actor, but there's one now with a Formula One, like Formula One driver and all this, and it's great, and it just, like I said, and it keeps you entertained, especially for me as well, that I love taking public transport. If you only have 5 minutes, you watch 5 episodes, other than, shit, I'll remember where I left, and when I go home, I'll finish watching the Netflix or the Prime or whatever movie. But with verticals, it offers you that freedom as well, that if you only have 5 minutes or a 10-minute break, 10-minute smoko, you watch it and then go back with a smile on your face and then figure out what, it's almost like a Kinder surprise. Then when you go home, you finish watching, it's like, oh, that's what happened, so, but I think though that, like I said, it's a wonderful place to continue keeping the audience motivated and not just see TikTok content. It's another form of creative expression that is not just stupid content. And I don't know, again, if I'm showing my age, but I firmly believe that there's a big difference between just putting content and putting something that has a storyline to it. And that be it verticals, you know what I mean? So that's the other thing I like, I like to keep people in a world of story, not just, oh, let's see Timmy jump off a fucking cliff and see if he breaks his back, just for a day. It's stuff like that I'm like,
I think you're right. It does, because
yeah.
it's interesting, because I know people have said to me, like, oh, isn't it showing that people don't have the focus or attention anymore? But then when I've spoken to fans, they're like, if I have, TV on, I will be on my phone as well.
Yeah,
If I'm watching a
exactly.
vertical, I'm on my phone.
Exactly.
So actually, I'm more focused because I'm not doing other things on
Exactly.
my phone. I'm watching that. So in an odd way, I think it's actually
Exactly.
training some focus back.
No, exactly. And look, it's with me. I'm a firm believer that if you really want to watch something that's going to keep you entertained, you're going to watch it. You might be on your phone for one or two. For example, the new season of Black Mirror. Like with that, I was like, if it keeps you entertained, chances are that you will pick your phone less. But the thing here that's become the norm, even especially with big streaming companies, is it's the formula. Is they know what's going to happen. They know how the audiences are going to react in such a way that they have completely forgotten the storytelling content and the emotional range of the audience. They only think of advertisement dollars and not what hits you here. You know what I mean? And that hasn't happened in a long time. And I think that verticals, in a funny way, are starting to hitting here. Which is what I love.
So you set me up perfectly then for the sort of one of the final questions I want to ask you of, like, what stories would you like to tell kind of going forward? What's your
Look,
love to tell that
man, you see, I personally, and this is the thing though, with the 50 Shade of Grey season happening at the verticals, that a lot of them are beautifully told, but they're told by the views of a male director. Now, again, nothing wrong with it, because I think that art is art. But I think that I would love to do one of those, just to have the female gaze attached to it. Because again, to me, it's more in the subtleties of a story like that, and not just in the doing. I've seen a couple of sort of funky horror ones, and I mean, I would love to get into those as well. I mean, I think I'm in a great position to be able to choose where I head with this at the moment. Like I've been given 3 different scripts now, and I'm kind of like, oh, this one sounds quite cool. That I'm sort of being able to do that. But it's to me, it's more like working with different actors and seeing what they can provide and stuff. But if I had my choice and they said, "Do you want to do this tomorrow?" I would love to do sort of like the one of the 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing to see where my mind ticks. And it's more for me as well, just as a woman, to see where it would take me visually, you know.
Well, we need to make that happen. Hopefully put it out there on the internet. Let's manifest this for you and make it happen. I just want to say thank you so much for your time and
No,
for
thank
just
you. Thank you.
your thoughts and your insights, because they're incredibly helpful, and I really hope they'll encourage other people in the industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Bye, everyone. See you.